Are you considering surgery for FAI hip impingement? If so, you might want to think twice after discovering what's in these scientific studies. In this video, we'll expose the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about FAI surgery success rates. The success rates of femoroacetabular impingement, FAI surgery, can be kind of a coin flip, with patients reporting being satisfied only 46% of the time. However, some surgeons still claim stats as high as 90% effectiveness for their hip surgery. So what gives? Is it a coin flip, or is it a 90% success guaranteed? Well, if you dig into the research, these 90% success rate claims start to sound as preposterous as that classic Anchorman scene.
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't make any sense, and neither does a 90% success rate on any intensive, invasive bone-shaving surgery. So where do the surgeons come up with these numbers? How do doctors and researchers decide if a surgery was successful? How do they score it? The key here is to look closely at the Harris Hip Score. The Harris Hip Score is a series of questions that get answered pre- and post-hip surgery. For a surgery to be considered successful, the patient needs to score at least 20 points higher post-op than they did pre-op. But the way doctors score things is sketchy at best. For example, imagine if you have a hip problem and you decide to have an operation to fix it. Before the surgery, you had a severe limp, severe pain, were walking with 2 crutches, and couldn't even put on your own socks and shoes. 1 year after the surgery, you now have a moderate limp, moderate pain, you walk with only 1 crutch, and you can kind of put on your own socks and shoes with great difficulty. Would you call that a smashingly successful surgery? Well, according to the Harris Hip Score, you improved 20 points, so the surgery worked. To me, this is kind of crazy. I don't know about you, but if I'm going to spend between $10,000 and $45,000 on a hip surgery or a hip replacement and do the grueling year-long post-surgical physical therapy, you bet your ass I'm expecting something a little better than going from severe pain to moderate pain and 2 crutches to 1 crutch. But according to the Harris Hip Score, that's good enough. And now you can start to see where some doctors and surgeons can come up with a 90% success rate. If the standards are this low, then I guess anyone can claim a 90% success rate for their treatment. Yeah, man, just take these amethyst crystals. They're charged by the power of the full moon, bro. Yeah. Yeah, you just wave it around your hip a couple times and you're bound to see at least a 20-point jump on your Harris Hip Score. This actually gives me an idea. Having standards this low is like lowering the basketball hoop to eye level and then dunking and declaring yourself an NBA player. It just don't make no sense. If the Harris Hip Score isn't a reliable measure, what is? Well, how about patient satisfaction? Duh. One scientific paper titled Patient Expectation and Satisfaction in Revision Total Hip Arthroplasty from the Journal of Arthroplasty showed that a year post-surgery, the Harris Hip Score, which is what we just learned is a crappy measuring stick, had risen from a median of 45 to 77 points, aka a successful surgery. However, if you asked the patients, only 55% of them felt that their expectations regarding walking ability had been met. Yes, sir, Mr. Shane, you're up 33 points on your Harris Hip Score. Brilliant, brilliant, I say. Just brilliant. But, doctor, I'm still walking with a limp. Yes, but how limpy is your limp? Well, pretty limpy. I spent $30,000 on this. Well, that'll be all for today. Take care. Let me know if you want another surgery if that one doesn't stick. Another study closely examined patients' expectations of hip surgery and their satisfaction levels 12 months post-op, aka what they were expecting and what they actually got. The study involved 86 patients who succumbed to the surgery with the hope of having less pain, better function, or because they feared their condition was going to get worse. The shocking revelation? 50% of these patients did not have their expectation met regarding hip pain, sport, and general physical capacity. Furthermore, 34 to 46% felt let down in areas like independence, mental well-being, and walking capacity. When asked about the overall effectiveness of the hip surgery for FAI, 29% believed it was highly beneficial, 39% felt it offered some relief, 21% said it provided minimal help, and 9% said it didn't help at all. And 2% reported that their condition worsened post-surgery. In simple terms, these figures reveal that about a third of the patients felt surgery helped, a third of them felt it was okay, and a third felt it barely helped or made things worse. This graph, which comes directly from the study, shows all the disappointing details. As you can see, patient expectations are nowhere near the 90% success rate that some surgeons claim. So what's the bottom line? The unfiltered truth about FAI surgery is that it's more like a coin flip than a slam dunk home run. If you're into flipping coins, you might get lucky, but there's also a chance you won't. But don't lose hope just yet. There are non-surgical options that can help alleviate hip pain for a fraction of the cost of surgery without anyone cutting you open and hacking away at your bones. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and please remember, there's always hope, and you're always just one step away from building or rebuilding your perfect body. Your Harris hip score is up, Mr. Dowd. That's kind of a big deal. Limp? I'll mark that down as patient walking with a new swagger. On a scale of 1 to 10, how's the pain? 8? 8 is great. It's one of my favorite numbers. Right after 60%, because 60% of the time, it works every time. You might feel a little bit of discomfort for the next 5 to 20 years, but remember, no pain, no gain. Tomato, tomato. All right, I'm out of here.